Welcome back to Monday All Weekend, everybody.
It's like
We
Wyatt
are
was ready
here.
for it.
We are back and here to talk about the biggest bomb in recorded history.
Oh
Is
yes.
the biggest bomb?
Sure, I think it was.
I
It's
don't
a good
think
play on
they've.
words. I
I
like
don't.
that though.
Right. I don't think they have set loose or turned loose a larger bomb. It's not that they
Yeah,
don't exist, but I don't think we have. Well, maybe they done testing on with bigger
Mm.
bombs, like in the ocean or somewhere, right?
yeah.
I've heard a lot of countries flexing or doing nuclear testing out in the middle of the ocean, but that's neither here nor there. This is
Yeah,
the
we're gonna be
birthplace of the big bombs.
talking about Oppenheimer. If you guys didn't know what I meant by that, we're gonna be doing kind of a spoiler movie review
Yes.
of Oppenheimer. So if you have not seen it, or if you don't care about spoilers, then be aware of that. And then we're also going to, after we're done talking about Oppenheimer, we are going to kind of do a recap on the weekend,
Right.
because a lot of people have been talking. Even we were talking about this a couple months back. How Barbie and Oppenheimer were head to head for kind of a opening weekend battle here.
Right.
hmm
Uh,
Which,
we're gonna
you
see
know,
who won. We're gonna see.
I think everyone knows who won. I mean,
Yeah,
we called it on the podcast. Everybody pretty much knew what was going to happen, and what we expected would happen happened. I think
wait,
it'd be interesting towards the end of our Oppenheimer review to get into our thoughts
yeah.
um, around kind of the back-to-back showings of the
Mm.
weekend,
Mhm.
and also just touch on, maybe it'd be interesting to touch on the controversy with everything Barbie, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, so let's get right into Oppenheimer, though. Um, did it meet expectations?
In my opinion, it it exceeded expectations mostly because
Have
I
any?
didn't know I didn't know how they were gonna tell this story. I didn't know how Chris Nolan was gonna tell this story of
hmm
Oppenheimer, and I believe I talked to you, Wyatt, when before you watched the movie. I had
hmm
already watched it, and I said this movie was a nonstop, constantly moving forward, intensity building
Yeah.
story, which is a long time to do that for 3 hours straight, pretty much. I mean, it didn't never really felt like there was of a break from the intensity of the story. It's like you're building up to something, but it never quite gives you what you're building up to until the first till the Trinity project
Yeah.
completion, and then at the end when there's that little phrase that he says to Einstein.
Hmm.
Well, somebody asked me. I think it was John Mark asked me. He said, "You watched the movie. What'd you think?" And I paused for a second. He said, "Boring." I did. I said, "Not boring.
Right.
Definitely wasn't boring, but
No.
it was long.
Yeah.
It felt long."
I didn't
So
mind the length. I enjoyed every moment of
if
it.
I was going to, we did on the podcast, which has not come out yet. It'll be coming out on Monday. We did
Mhm.
a Christopher Nolan ranking of all his movies. And the article that we were kind of referencing in that segment, they had Oppenheimer as number one. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was just like a marketing thing
I
for
think it was a
peop
marketing
yeah,
thing,
for people to go
100%.
see it, but we didn't know where it was gonna fit, and I would say it kind of fit around, so there's 12 movies altogether when it comes to
Mhm.
the Nolan universe, and, um, I would say it's probably 4 or 5 in my opinion. I think there's a couple movies ahead of it, but it
Which ones
definitely
in particular? You think Interstellar, Inception, The Dark
Interstellar
Knight?
and no, I wouldn't say The
Well, we
Dark
don't need to
Knight.
re-rank
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
but
no.
right.
I would say there's a few things that are better than it, and, it came a little more than halfway
Mhm.
through his movies, in my opinion. It was
Okay.
good. It was good.
It
Right,
was
right.
it was it was good, and it was extremely well made. It was I don't think there was any I can only think of like one moment where one piece of dialogue didn't fit. It just felt like one
Right.
puzzle piece that was just like, and it was just something that I think Oppenheimer says to somebody. He just says
Mhm.
like 3 words to somebody.
Right.
But it was weird because he like walks up, says it, keeps going, and I was like, that felt a little bit weird. Uh,
Mhm.
Mhm.
that was the only thing. Otherwise, the dialogue was incredible. The visuals
Um,
were incredible, and the music, the sound mixing for
the
this
sound
film,
mixing was great.
It
Sound was
was.
great.
like
Um,
always listening for the sound.
Yes,
Can
absolutely.
we didn't have this planned. I don't know if this is gonna throw you off our later segment, but are you able to pull up the IMDb? I want to kind of go through some of the actors and
Mm,
how and like because there was a ton
it's a ton of
ton
actors in
of
there.
Right.
big name actors. I mean, like we were talking about how Josh Peck had a part in this, and he
Mhm.
was one of like probably 20 to 30 maybe big actors that were
Yeah,
in this movie that was only in it for probably altogether like 3 minutes, if that.
Right.
It
Right.
he was very quick.
I mean, the guy from Diary of a Wimpy Kid is in this.
He is.
He shows
Actually,
I mean, he shows up, like, in a couple scenes as he's more of a background character. He only has, like, 2 or 3 lines, but he's
Right.
there.
no, he had like a whole throwing up scene.
He did
You
have a whole
remember that?
throwing up scene, yeah.
Which was super gross.
That was pretty gross.
But it was appropriate,
It
right?
was appropriate.
Um, so there's almost too many actors that's going to fit here because I'm already seeing
Mm,
faces not
Yeah.
listed. But obviously we got Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr.,
Mhm.
Alden. How do you say that last name? Alden Henry.
As
Henry.
wait, oh, that's
eh,
Alden Ehrenreich.
Olden
Heinrich.
Eyrick. Okay.
Yeah,
Heinrich,
he
yeah.
played Han Solo
Oh, that's
in the
right.
Han Solo
That's
movie.
right. He plays the lawyer to Robert Downey
Mhm.
Jr.'s character.
He does. Yeah.
Scott
Oh,
Grimes.
one of the characters that I really enjoyed was David Hertz, the guy who plays on the show Numbers. And
Mhm.
he also plays. This is a weird reference, but he plays Bernard on Santa Claus.
Yep.
Where
Yep.
was
And
he? Where did he come in?
He was
Which character
he
was
was
he?
he was
the fat Jewish guy that talked to him the
Jewish
whole
Oh,
time.
guy that
was he? Oh, yeah, he was.
he was.
Oh,
He's a
man.
lot bigger now than he
Yeah, yeah,
was in
yeah.
like the
No,
Numbers show. He's gained a
he
little
was
bit of weight,
great.
but he was probably
He was
one
a
of my
great
favorite
character.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
because
wholeheartedly
he
agree.
was he was humanizing. He was because he was there with Oppenheimer kinda along the way, and he was very
Yeah.
humanizing.
Right. Um, Man, there were so many. Like who's the guy that plays Freddie Mercury in Bohemian
Rami
Rhapsody?
Malek
Rami Malek just shows up for like
shows up.
one big scene, but he's like
Yeah.
Mhm.
an extra in the two other scenes.
Yeah.
They got so many people
Bro,
showing up for this movie.
Casey Affleck just jumping in there
Right, right.
as the guy who wiretapped Oppenheimer and trapped him in that office, and
Yeah.
Exactly.
dude, he was
This might
he
be the
was
biggest like recognizable face cast that Nolan has
Yeah.
ever put
you know
together.
what?
Yeah.
And you know what? I knew it was Casey Affleck from the back of his head. He opens the door, I see the back of that head, I went, "That is Casey Affleck."
Right.
I
Mm.
knew it. I
There
knew
was
it.
there was so many people that I I guarantee some of those actors just said like, "Put me in your movie. I don't want to get paid. I don't need to get paid," and just did the role probably
Christopher
because
Nolan likes to he's very choosy with the people in the movie.
Mhm.
yeah,
I would say even people who have said, I think I saw somebody on Twitter saying that, Christopher Nolan just put like Florence Pugh in the movie because she's popular right now. She's
yeah.
popular right now because she's a pretty decent actress,
But
Yeah.
and
she doesn't play a
she's
good. I wouldn't consider her as like the mistress character. She doesn't seem.
No, no, no. A 1930s communist. Uh, yes, she did
I
a
didn't
great
I
job.
thought she did a great job with her role. The it was surprising to have those scenes in the Christopher Nolan movie. I guess that's
First
why it
time.
got that rated R rating.
Yeah.
Although
Mhm.
I was thinking about this on the way home, they're very important for characterizing
And the thing is,
who
this is not a
Oppenheimer
this
is.
is not a fictional character that, Chris Nolan almost gets to dictate how people view
Mhm.
him. He was, when it came to sexual affairs, a sleazebag.
Yeah, he was a womanizer.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
a fact. Oppenheimer
And
had
and
multiple
every
wives
every
and
time
many affairs.
every
That is
time
him.
they show like nudity or
Mhm.
especially the scene in the almost like the little room, the little courtroom
Yeah.
thing with her, that's poignant as well for Emily Blunt's character of
Yes.
kind
Think about
almost how she views her husband
right.
at times.
Right. So if you notice the way the camera moved around. So
Mhm.
it passed over a guy, Killian's naked, right?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
it represents him feeling naked in front of all these people, and his
Yeah.
wife is
Yeah.
sitting behind him. Like he's completely exposed his secrets out. Um, and then it switches to Emily Blunt's character, and not only is he naked, but now he's having
Naked with her.
sex with
Yeah, so it's all on
Florence Pugh's
everything is
character.
on display, and
And
that
it's like
that
how everyone's seeing him in that
Yeah.
moment.
right, and that characterizes her for when she's saying, like, "Why are you letting them do this to you?"
Right.
Uh, it's interesting. It's all got like a reason for
Mhm.
being in there. It's not. It didn't seem like
It wasn't
it
pornographic,
was. I would say it's a little bit gratuitous, but
perhaps.
um, purposefully gratuitous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
gratuity with a reason.
Yeah.
Um,
And it was interesting. I mean, we've never seen that in a
Mm,
Chris Nolan film, but this is his first biopic, so
yeah.
I think he just was like, in my opinion, even though I don't traditionally put this in movies, this is based on someone's actual life, and so
Mhm.
I'm not gonna censor this part really, right?
Yeah.
a character that I was surprised to see, Michael. I don't know if I can pronounce the last name.
Branagh?
Ang Angarano.
I'm thinking
Angarano.
Kenneth.
Um, Formerly known for, you know who he played before this?
Ooh,
Will Stronghold on Sky High.
that was his last role?
I think
No,
so.
he was
He was in
in
this movie. I don't know
where?
what his last role was, but you know who I'm talking about. He was in Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah.
in
What character was he?
he was one of the scientist guys right there
Oh,
with Josh
yeah?
Peck. You
Huh.
didn't see him a lot, and you probably wouldn't recognize him because he had glasses on. But I'm
Mm.
like, that's him. That's him.
Freaking
I know
rolling out
the
everybody.
guy who plays Huey from The Boys, who, he's been
Yeah.
in a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Mhm.
He was in there. Lots of people. Kenneth Branagh,
He's the guy that he was in Hunger Games too, wasn't he?
yeah, he was in Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I don't see how there was this many contracts laid out with all of these
Mm.
reputable actors, right? It's
It
pretty
really
wild to
is
me.
an interesting and kind of intense uh movie. I
Mhm.
just it opens up and it's almost nonstop from the beginning of he's lying in bed. No, is that where it opens? Is him lying in bed?
The movie?
Yeah.
No, no. It starts with Oppenheimer
Mm.
looking at water droplets in the
Okay.
pond, and then
In
it
the
shows
pond.
shows that, 1,000-mile stare as he's
Yeah.
thinking, and then it cuts to, like, him going to class in the lab,
Right. Yeah,
cut
yeah.
in
Well,
between that and him in bed
he's
thinking.
in bed and he's thinking and there's all of the sound and like the stars and the explosions and
Mhm.
then you know they tell you exactly who he is with that first interaction that he has where
Right.
the professor says, all right, we're all going to this thing that
Mhm.
Oppenheimer wanted to go to, but he gets
Right.
to stay here and organize stuff.
Right.
And so he puts the cyanide in the apple
Yeah.
and
Was it
everything you need.
cyanide?
Yeah, it was cyanide.
Cyanide doesn't kill you, does it?
Yes, it does.
No, I don't think it was cyanide,
It was
dude. I think
cyanide.
is that you sure? Because
Yeah, I read the
history books
label.
well, the Wikipedia that I did a video on Oppenheimer, I believe it was a laxative in the
No, it
Wikipedia
was
article.
cyanide. That was
Man,
cyanide, dude.
that's dark.
Yeah. That's why. That's why it was. It was. So this scene is poignant because it tells you everything you need to know about who this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Um. He gets upset, so he poisons the apple with something that could kill his teacher,
Mm.
who he later says he really likes and respects, that teacher, right?
Right.
Then he does this malicious thing. He goes to the thing he wanted to go to, gets his question answered by the guy he wanted to get his question answered by, and then the next morning he realizes that he made a mistake, and
Mm-hmm.
does everything he can to fix that mistake down to like the last second.
Right.
And it kind of points to like everything he does in
Mm-hmm.
his life of, making rash decisions, trying to go back and fix those, acting on impulses, and choosing like the things that he wants over other things. It characterizes him very well, and he does this multiple times through the movie, where essentially he poisons something, he gratifies himself, and then tries to fix his mistake.
Right. And I think that's big for, for him as a character. He went on an evolution. Did you feel like his character, like the way he thought about things fundamentally changed? Because there are
Mhm.
parts of him that never really stopped.
Yeah.
And you are telling the story of a real person, but I was also listening. So, um, CBS, I think, posted a YouTube video today that was like out of the archive,
Mhm.
an
Mm.
Oppenheimer interview. It was black and white. So it was like
Yeah.
something they
Yeah.
recorded with actually Oppenheimer. And looking at him, and he's an older man at that point, but listening to him talk about the the way he felt, his thought process, the way he was meticulously careful about explaining everything, it
Mm.
kind of felt like towards the end of the movie, but it seemed like he did fundamentally try to, as a person, well, he definitely evolved after the Trinity Project and
Mhm.
after the bomb, went off, and I think he did. I think they got across pretty well that him as a character definitely, definitely, I guess, changed his perspective on life, his perspective on science, and how he interacts with that definitely changed. But it almost seems like, do you think that the opportunity to develop him as a character was lost at all with the focus on the inner turmoil, right? Because people, based on what I know about Oppenheimer, people assumed that he had an inner dialogue that constantly, that constantly plagued him through his life. And so just
Mm.
logic shows after the bomb is dropped, that would do the same thing, right? So do you think there's too much focus on that once the bomb was dropped afterward? Or do you think that they developed like who Oppenheimer became into his old age well enough, um, without like alongside still showing in the inner turmoil? Does that make sense?
Mhm. I think so.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. I think they definitely showed us um, what he was thinking, and it was definitely very much like Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
Um, inside his head, and everybody else around it was just kind of a character to build his story a little
Right.
Mhm.
bit. But I think it was good. I think Cillian Murphy killed the role, and I also think Robert Downey Jr. killed his
Yeah,
Okay.
he
role.
did a really
Interesting.
good job.
If
Yeah.
any of these characters deserve an Oscar, who
I
gets
think
it? For actor, whether lead actor or supporting actor, who gets it? I know
I think
mine.
Robert Downey Jr., in my opinion, was for his acting. I think I liked him a little better than Cillian Murphy, even though Cillian Murphy did an awesome job. I just like how he played, like especially that scene that scene at the end where he kind of was talking to who was the security officer guy that he was talking to, and he said he was kind of explaining everything after he disproved him in the court, and he said like he was kind of explaining that he had a vendetta with him, and that was why he kind of went after him. That scene was really good.
Yeah. No, the scene where he opens the door for him to let him out. I don't remember exactly what Alden Einrich says, but that line was really good. He
Mhm.
said something. It was a good line. That's all I
Right.
remember.
Well,
The movie. There's so much of the movie, and I want to really briefly touch on. I think
Well, first
what
I want to
is.
hear who gets the Oscar for you.
Oh, for me.
I say Emily Blunt, personally.
Yeah,
Emily Blunt's good. Um,
I think Robert
Emily
did a
Blunt's
better job.
really good.
They're all incredible actors. You just got to kind of pick one.
I mean it.
Who stood out? Who's your gut say?
I
It
think
could be Killian. I know it's sometimes you
I
don't
think
want
that
to.
one guy, Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid,
From Diary
that
of a Wimpy
throw up
Kid.
scene was just he's convincing.
I would have to give it to Cillian Murphy.
Okay.
Everybody does such a great job, but this is a big one. This is a
Mhm.
big movie. This is a big. There's a reason it's called Oppenheimer's, because everybody says Oppenheimer so many times, and he is, he has to portray this character,
Yeah.
this person.
We've
But
never seen this kind of character from Killian. It's always like this, like brooding, almost Peaky Blinders type character. But
yeah,
he when he was happy in this movie, he did a lot of like
Yeah.
the wide eyes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Was
he
kind of
definitely
funny.
was more happy expressive
Mhm.
than
He's like,
in other roles I've seen Killian in.
I want to ask. I think probably we lead up to that the bomb scene,
Mm.
which is really incredible,
Trinity.
and I don't know what Chris blew up. I don't know how he made that bomb, but he blew something up
He blew up
somewhere.
He
something
blew up a
big.
couple different things probably in this movie. Not big things,
I want to
smaller
say
things, and then the big
I
thing.
I want to say he blew up something really big, because people are saying that he didn't use visual effects, and from what I saw from those flames, they're too the flames themselves are like too small to have like blown up to make big,
And
to make it look like a
we had
bigger
mushroom
explosion.
cloud. We had
Yeah.
mushroom cloud.
That was really intense.
So I think this is what I think. I think give it a little ways in the theater. Maybe when it comes out on movie or streaming, I think down the road we're gonna get a nice little featurette
the
that
behind the
shows
scenes
us
for
the
this.
process of exploding,
Maybe.
because he's kept it under wraps. He also mentioned in an interview. I listened to a bunch of cast and director interviews on YouTube to promote the film, and he mentioned one time he let kind of it slip. He's like, the combination of practicals and miniatures, and so he let miniatures slip.
Yeah.
Obviously, it can't all be miniatures, but there's
Yeah.
in some fashion there's a miniature
but
involved.
yeah. He knows how to use good practicals, good miniatures, but there's a lot to those flames that I think was really real. But more importantly, I think the more poignant scene is the speech that he gives. He goes into the little
After
area after, and
Oh,
everybody's stamping their feet,
dude,
and
my
the light.
butthole was
The sound. I don't think I'm ever gonna get out of my head of the wind blowing and the woman with the skin. I don't think I'm ever gonna get that sound.
This is what I'm never
out
gonna
of
get.
my head.
Look, I'm gonna get to the next part, but that scene, what I won't ever get out of my head is the sound of everyone cheering, showing the faces and the close-ups. The room goes silent, and one woman cheers, but all you hear is like a little girl
scream.
screaming.
Oh
Mm.
Dude,
man,
it ripped me apart. I went like, like, and there's a dude, an old man sitting next to me, and I freaking gasped. It
You're
that everything
gasping.
past that screen just tore me up. And then you had the wind blowing the skin, and then
dude, the
the
skin
ash.
guy. I'm it. It's actually uncomfortable to think about the skin scene.
Mhm. And
Uh,
that's it. That was such a powerful film, and I have to
mhm.
say, out of everything this film is, right? It's a visual spectacle, maybe not as much as something like Interstellar. But there's a lot to it visually.
Yeah, there
Um,
really is.
there's also a lot to it audio, but I
Mm,
think,
Mhm.
with the sound mixing, and there's a lot of really, especially in IMAX or bigger theaters, like it really hits, gets the point across. But the thing that was most impressive to me about this film was the editing creative choices.
mm,
And it's not even all in, I mean, there's the cutting,
Mhm.
but he does things practically. So, like in that moment when he's giving the speech, the background is vibrating. I
yeah.
believe that's in camera practical. So they have to figure out how they're doing that effect, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, to show like this disorientation buildup of an explosion that is kind of all in his head,
Well, they
and
do
that
that a couple times,
they
like,
do.
really early on when he's sitting in the train and his friend gets in the train before they're friends,
Mm,
and you see the background. They're on a train, so there is gonna be vibration, but behind him, it's, like, vibrating like that.
mhm.
Yeah.
That was there's a lot of really intense moments like that. And then
Yeah.
I wanna say this, the guy who plays Albert Einstein,
Did a good job.
so good. Every time
Mhm.
he's on screen, he was just I it was a really great performance.
Right. Yeah, it was, and a very good casting choice for
Mhm,
Albert Einstein. Let's see, I believe his name is Tom, uh, Conti,
mhm.
Conti. He played Albert Einstein, so
Really
Solid.
good. And his lines, they gave him some really poignant lines, especially at the end when, he says, "Like it or not,
mhm.
everybody's gonna remember you for this."
Yeah.
Um,
But it's not for you.
but yeah, it's not for you, it's for them.
That felt like a Christopher Nolan thing where
Mhm.
he always has to have, like, this reveal at the end of the movie,
Look, I
and
knew the reveal.
there
Did you
was no
guys know?
reveal, but he created one out of
Right.
nothing,
The
basically.
So,
reveal was the Robert Downing Jr. thing.
no, well,
Yeah,
sort
Yeah,
of.
that
no.
was the
That
twist.
was the
Yeah, that
twist.
was the
Yes,
twist at
yes,
the
Well,
end.
within
okay,
connection with that conversation because
Yeah.
he
but
said
the
he always came back to that and said, "What did he say to
Yeah.
Oppenheimer?"
But
Yeah.
the true big reveal, in my opinion, was, although that was a reveal, the big reveal was what was kind of being built up, which was, what did he say to Albert Einstein, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that's
And it was, and as soon as it showed Robert Downey Jr. looking at him going to talk to Albert, and the hat blows off and everything, I'm like, and it's in black and white, the wide
Mhm.
view. I'm like, oh, this is how the movie's gonna end. I
yeah,
instantly
yeah,
knew, like,
Yeah.
close to the beginning.
yeah.
I was like,
Well,
it's gonna
see,
end on this reveal. Like, what's that conversation
um, yeah,
from
that was
Oppenheimer's point of view?
yeah, early on, that was like that's an easy. I was like,
Easy
this
guess.
because they kept showing that moment at the pond.
Mhm.
Um, but no, he did that a bunch of times throughout the movie where he would set something up and then give it a payoff. So like
Mhm.
in the interviews, you would have like Matt Damon's character, they would be like, "All right, so do you think he's a security risk?" And then they cut away. They did that super early in the movie.
Yep.
And then they had other characters come in and they would be saying things and then you'd hear the rest of their story
Right.
towards the end, and he set that up super well.
And
Uh,
it
it
was constantly, like, getting characters to either feel like they're in support of him, and they turn
Mhm.
on him, and then vice
Yeah.
versa. Like the fella who wanted to do the hydrogen bomb made him
Mhm.
feel like he was in support of Oppenheimer, and, like,
Yeah.
a good colleague and a friend, and then reveals that he's kind of in it for selfish reasons, you
And
know?
then Matt Damon, who you would think, obviously, he sides with the government, um, and, it could potentially be putting his job at risk, um, you
stood
know, he stood with
with him.
him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, stood by
It,
him.
Matt Damon had a good character too. It definitely it felt like a Matt Damon character though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
He was the best person to play that.
the guy who plays he plays Harry in the second Spider-Man with
Yes.
Andrew Garfield.
He
Yep.
played
As
the
he pl-
colonel that was with
yeah,
him.
he plays the little weasel army guy. He's good.
Really good.
He's good at that weasel character.
Really
He
good.
always
Yeah.
he always has that one line in everything he does though. That's like they're asking him and he kind of, you know, I this is what I think. And he does delivers that line in the weird way. He's got his own unique thing.
Mhm.
I think
And
you're
how
just
he acts.
noticing that, Joshua. I don't resonate with what you're talking about. What are you talking
No,
about?
no. No, he's got his own the way he delivers lines
It's a
is
performance thing.
yeah.
So
But every time towards the end of the movie, every time they'd be like, so Oppenheimer, you talked to this person, and then they would reveal who the person is, and I was like, who is this actor gonna be? Who are they gonna get?
Who we gonna
Is
see
it gonna be
next?
Harrison Ford?
oh, if Harrison Ford showed up, that'd be
That would have
legendary.
been crazy.
So yeah, I think you guys wanted to take a look to see at what the
Yeah, real quickly.
box office is
Yeah.
See what
are.
they did compared to Barbie this weekend.
So yeah, so the traditional, argument for Barbenheimer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So box office for Oppenheimer, US gross in Canada, 82 million, over 82 million,
Okay.
That's
which is pretty
respectable.
good.
That's respectable
Which
for an
we
opening weekend.
predicted on the podcast. We said Barbie's probably going to win opening weekend, but overall, Oppenheimer is going to be a movie you can watch 5-10 years down the road. People are
Oppenheimer.
still watching Interstellar
People are going to
Inception.
remember. I think Barbie has a Peaches kind of thing with Ken where he
Mhm.
sings a song, and I think people are. It's already got like a ton of downloads on Spotify.
Right.
People are going to remember stuff like. I think people are mostly going to remember Ryan Gosling's performance and
Yeah.
the
Right.
culture leading up to the movie. Oppenheimer is going to have scenes in it that play in people's heads over and over and
Yes.
over again for a
Yeah.
long
Absolutely.
time.
People won't be watching Barbie in 2 years, I don't
I'll
think.
say like with Interstellar, I remember watching it, I think with my mom, and we were like, I guess that was a pretty good movie. We were a little confused, but as time went on, I kept those scenes in the
Mhm.
movie, they kept coming back to me, and the
Yeah.
music kept coming back to me, like over and over long term.
I listened to what Ben Shapiro had to say about Barbie, and he said that I listened to the whole 43-minute video that he just rants about Barbie straight for 40 something minutes.
That's
And I listened to the whole thing, and
So
it's funny because he just ends it with, "Oh yeah," because it's supposed to be like a Barbie Oppenheimer review. He
mm.
rants about Barbie for 40 plus minutes, and then at the end, right before the video cuts out, he goes, "Oh yeah, Oppenheimer's good."
Well, how
But-
much did Barbie make? We didn't look that up.
Well, so he was saying that he doesn't think anybody is going to be coming back for Barbie week 2 and 3.
I don't know. I think Barbie made a lot opening weekend. I
Yeah.
think they probably in the next month it's definitely a successful movie. It's
Yeah.
definitely beyond a successful movie.
Well, technically, even if you just take an opening weekend, it's
Mm.
considered a success.
Yeah.
How much
So,
did they make?
so their gross income for U.S. Canada was 162 million, and their
Okay.
estimated budget was only around 100 million. So that's considered a profit. In rough terms, technically, you have to factor in marketing, which they spent a lot on marketing.
Well,
And a
yeah,
lot of pink paint.
A lot of pink
mean,
paint.
a lot of feet shots.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. And so, I think let's see. Did I share my screen?
It's just the
No.
one feet shot, actually,
I'm
Josh.
sorry. I didn't
I don't
share
know
my
why
screen.
feet is sticking in your head.
Right. So
I'm not that kind of guy.
I know you're thinking about
ain't
it.
John Mark.
there's the numbers for you. So yeah, it definitely beat out Oppenheimer, but I think I think wait until the end of the theatrical run. Let's see where they stand.
Mm.
I think Oppenheimer's going to continue getting views, especially people that weren't able to get out opening weekend. To even you guys, you were saying you wanted to hold out for an IMAX viewing.
Yeah, we just the
Yeah.
only close one
It was
was
like
far away. But
30 minutes away.
honestly, if you have what is it like? What is it called? PLF.
Yeah.
Um, PLF or like Extreme, or your theater's gonna have something like that, and it is a bigger screen. It's not quite IMAX screen, but
And
it is a bigger
you
screen, and it's
know,
got better surround sound.
depending on the
Opt for
IMAX
that.
theater. So, like the IMAX theater I went to, the screen was big, but it wasn't humongous,
Mm,
right? Like some IMAX theaters. The real big difference is instead of, the wide anamorphic, uh, or I guess the wide anamorphic frame, an IMAX theater gives you like a more 16 by 9
Yeah,
full
yeah, yeah.
frame. So there's more to an image, whereas the version you guys saw was a little cropped. The top and
yeah.
bottom was cropped in. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think even if you don't get to an IMAX, go watch it. Support this movie. It needs to
Mm,
be viewed in the theaters. So when it goes out on
It does.
streaming, all that's
It does.
just what a cushion, just extras, just funsies.
Just a little
That's what we
push.
want it to be. We need
Mhm.
to keep getting Chris Nolan making movies. I saw an interesting interview where someone was asking Chris Nolan a lot of questions, and he said, um, "Will you ever direct a series?" And
Mhm.
Chris Nolan said, "No." And then he said, "Do you think you will still be making movies in like 15 years or something like that?" And he said, "Yes." So Chris Nolan's not going anywhere,
yeah.
No.
which is great news,
Yeah.
which
He's
is
here
wonderful
for the
news.
time being. He ain't giving us a Quentin Tarantino and giving us one more film.
I
He's
would
already
like to
beat
see
Tarantino's movie number.
He has.
I would like
He's
to
12. He's
see
on number 12.
kind of maybe a 2 movie thing from him, like a part 1, part 2
Mm,
thing. I mean, Oppenheimer's already pretty big. If he wanted to have a very big story, do a I think he could do a two-parter movie and not make it feel like a two-parter movie.
Yeah.
Make it feel like a unique experience where the second movie, maybe even the wait for the second movie is important to the first movie. I don't know. I feel like he
Well,
could do
look at
that.
Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. If you just take those two,
Mm.
no one was
Yeah.
disappointed by number 2.
Yeah.
And he didn't really intend to make The Dark Knight Rises. I think there's just demand for it. Um, but yeah, I overall, what a movie. I'm a bit annoyed by how many people in pink. And you know what was the biggest disappointment for me this past weekend
yeah.
is I saw all these crazy women, young, old,
I think those are just
In pink.
women.
large and skinny, wearing these tight pink outfits. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing dudes
In
also wearing
pink.
pink. I'm seeing
Mhm.
dudes by themselves walking into
Wearing
a
pink.
theater wearing pink. And I was like, this is the meme, dude. These are the memes that were hilarious that everyone was joking on, but it's really happening.
No,
It
I
happened.
do
people are
not
going out.
understand what was going on.
Yeah, I don't either. Thank you for joining us on this Monday all weekend. If
Mhm.
you enjoyed watching our review of Oppenheimer, um, subscribe to the channel. We're doing this every weekend. I mean, every Monday, not the
Not
weekend.
every weekend.
We're doing it every Monday at like 7:30. So be looking out for that. And we have other videos you can enjoy in the meantime. So like this live, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time on Monday all weekend.